Welcome back to Urban Odyssey, the place where we chase the shadows of truth. I'm Jordan. Tonight, we are cracking open a document that history, really tried to forget. This thing, it's a manual for madness, and it wasn't written by some fringe theorist. No, this was written by a king. This is the text that ignited a firestorm across an entire nation. So forget about all the hidden files and the secret societies for a minute. What if the ultimate conspiracy was just published for everyone to see? Imagine a royal decree that literally weaponized paranoia and stamped it with a divine seal of approval. What if the actual playbook for a nationwide witch hunt was a bestseller, written by a king? And I'm Alex. The document we're talking about, it's called Dæmonologie. It was published way back in 1597 by King James VI of Scotland, who, you might know, was about to become James I of England. And look, this wasn't just some book he wrote. This was state-sponsored propaganda, plain and simple. It was a royal playbook that basically gave ordinary people permission to hunt their own neighbor. Right, and King James, he wasn't exactly subtle about it. In the preface, he just lays out his entire mission statement. And I'm quoting the original text here. It's wild. He wanted to prove that the assaults of Satan are most certainly practicized, and that the instruments thereof merits most severely to be punished. I mean, this was not some academic exercise. It was a royal call to arms. Exactly. And he does this by framing the whole thing as a national emergency. He talks about a fearful abounding of detestable slaves of the devil. See what he's doing? He's painting this picture of a kingdom that's already under siege. He's manufacturing consent for the horrors that he knows are about to come. And the structure of the book itself is it's so deceptive. He writes it as a dialogue, right, between a skeptic and a believer. But it's a total setup. Every single question the skeptic asks is a complete softball. It's designed to let the king's voice, speaking through this character epistemon, just systematically dismantle any shred of doubt. It's pure indoctrination, but it's disguised as a reasonable debate. Okay, and this is where it gets really tactical. Because if you want to hunt an enemy, first you have to define them. King James doesn't just talk vaguely about witches. He creates this whole hierarchy, a specific class system for anyone who deals in black magic. And you can see a clear social divide. It's incredible. On one side, you've got your magicians and necromancers. These are the elites, the learned ones, driven by curiosity. They see themselves as the devil's masters. But then on the other side, you have the witches and sorcerers, the poor, the powerless, the desperate. They're allured by revenge or greed. And the book explicitly calls them the devil's slaves. It is literally a class system for the damned, separating this intellectual pursuit of dark knowledge from what he saw as the desperate, grubby acts of the common folk. And for these so-called masters, King James lays out this very clear path to their own damnation. It all starts with seeking forbidden knowledge, right? Judicial astrology. Then comes the hubris, the arrogance of conjuring circles, believing that your own human intellect can actually control demons. But then, of course, comes the trap. The slow realization that the power isn't in the symbols or the circles, it's in the devil himself. From there, the final step is pretty much inevitable. You sign a contract and you become a slave just like everyone else. Which brings us to the core of this whole transaction, the contract. I mean, this is where the conspiracy becomes terrifyingly real, with specific terms and conditions. King James actually details the fine print of a deal with the devil, and in doing so, he turns all this mythology into something that feels like a legally binding agreement. And this is the ultimate bait and switch. The magician thinks he's in control, using these powerful rituals and the holiness of the names of God. But King James reveals it's all a con. The devil is just playing along, pretending to be commanded, only to trap them in the end. He is, and the book says it right here, the father of all lies. So what do you get for selling your soul? The book lays it all out. It's like a demonic subscription box. He'll appear on demand as a pet. He'll reveal anyone's secrets. He'll bring you exotic food from all over the world, teach you sciences, even conjure up illusions of entire armies. You get power, knowledge, and luxury. But Alex, there's always a price, isn't there? Yeah, the price is always there, right there in the fine print. James calls it an inequitable contract. And the price for all these little parlor tricks? The everlasting perdition of their soul and body. A pretty steep fee, I'd say. Okay, so we've got the theory, we've got the contract, now comes the deadly application. This is the part of Dæmonologie where it stops being some theological treatise and becomes a witch hunter's field manual. This is where paranoia gets codified into state-sanctioned murder. And this is how he gives this veneer of logic to things that are completely illogical, like how can roasting a wax doll kill a person miles away?
Well, James has an answer for that. He says the devil subtly weakens the victim's spirits of life as the wax melts. How can a witch raise a storm? Oh, that's simple. The devil is the prince of the air. See? He creates this pseudoscientific framework for every single accusation, which makes the impossible sound plausible to a public that is already terrified.
And who were the main targets of this new playbook? Well, King James gives us the number himself, directly from the source. He states that there are 20 women given to that craft where there is one man. 20 to 1. I mean, that is a staggering ratio. And his justification for this is just laid bare for everyone to see. He actually asks why this is. His answer? The reason is easy. For as that sex is frailer than man is, so is it easier to be entrapped in these gross snares of the devil. He traces it all the way back to Eve in the garden. Misogyny wasn't just some side effect here. It was a core pillar of the entire ideology he was building. And finally, the playbook needed physical evidence. Something prosecutors could actually point to in a trial. The book provides it, the devil's mark. According to James, the devil gives them his market upon some secret place of their body, which then becomes ever insensible. It can't feel pain. So now any mole, any birthmark, any scar could be reframed as proof of a satanic pact, a physical sign of guilt that could be tested with a sharp pin. So you have this 400-year-old blueprint for turning fear directly into policy. And it's easy to just dismiss it as ancient history, but just look at the mechanics of it. You create an enemy, you justify the paranoia, you target a specific group. The playbook, it really hasn't changed at all. Only the names of the witches have. Let's just run through the bombshells here. A literal king wrote a state-sponsored guide to witch hunting. He framed magic with a class system that pits elites against the poor. He argued the devil's real power isn't magic, it's deception and contracts. He codified misogyny into theological law. And maybe most dangerously of all, he gave rational explanations for irrational fears, effectively turning paranoia into a weapon of the state. Yeah, we don't hunt witches with pyres and pins anymore, obviously. But think about it. When a powerful authority defines an enemy, creates a sense of crisis, and provides a logical framework to justify widespread fear, is it really so different? The witch hunts may be over, but has the playbook ever really gone away? We have only scratched the surface here. For the full dive into the hidden currents of power behind Dæmonologie, you've got to subscribe to our Substack. Join the conversation on X with the hashtag Urban Odyssey Truth. What's your take? What did we miss? Let us know. Stay vigilant.